most dramatic events of 1915, or even the whole First World War, is the sinking of the American ship Lusitania. Prior to the sinking of Lusitania, German U-boats, submarines, naval vessels, and ships developed a large blockade over and around French and British coastlines. In doing so, they cut off British and French trade routes, and therefore limiting the supplies available to these countries, their enemies. Although this crippled these members of the Triple Entente, it did not stop them from eventual victory during the war. America traded largely with Great Britain, and when they discovered this new German blockade, it didn't stop them from attempting to continue trade. First, President Wilson sent over the Valhalla, a large passenger steamer, in early March in efforts to keep trading. When news of the ship had been crumbled on March 28, 1915, reached America, the president was fuming, and he abruptly retaliated by sending another American ship over. This time, Woodrow sent over Cushing, an American vessel which was crushed to bits by a German aeroplane on April 28, 1915. As if America didn't have enough, they sent over another vessel named Gulflight. Needless to say, it was sunk by a German submarine on May 1, 1915. America's final attempt to trade with other members of the Triple Entente was the Lusitania. The Lusitania was a powerful American steamship that was sunk by German U-boats. Lusitania had about 12,000 non-combatant members aboard when it went down. Today, the sinking of Lusitania is regarded as the most brutal behavior towards men, women, and children. In Roosevelt's Murder on the High Seas document, Roosevelt stated that he believed the Germans' blockade to be ineffective. He also went to proclaim that not only did the Germans break multiple international laws and treaties, such as the Hague Conventions, but they also went as far as to poison wells that were being used by enemy troops, ship infected rags into enemy cities, and even force women into concubinage. Roosevelt concluded with, "In the teeth of all these things, we as a nation earn measureless scorn and contempt if we follow the lead of those who exalt peace above righteousness, if we heed the voices of those feeble folk who bleat to high heaven there is peace when there is no peace." Finally, on May 13, 1915, President Wilson replied to Germany in a note. First, Wilson went over all of the previous sinkings that had been inflicted by Germany upon the United States during the First World War. Next, he touched on freedom of the seas and modern warfare in saying, having learned to recognize the German views and German influence in the field of international obligation as always engaged upon the side of justice and humanity, and having understood the instructions of the Imperial German government to its naval commanders to be upon the same plane of human action prescribed by the naval codes of other nations, the government of the United States was loath to believe, it can now bring itself to believe, that these acts, so absolutely contrary to the rules, the practices, and the spirit of modern warfare. Wilson also included in that note that Germany should be punished for their wrongdoings. Wilson and other leaders of the war considered themselves to be obliged by the extraordinary circumstances of the present war and the measures adopted by their adversaries in seeking to cut off Germany from all commerce, to adopt methods of retaliation which go much beyond the war in neutral ships to keep away. The sinking of Lusitania impacted the First World War by pulling in the United States and attacking them, and by Germany being punished for their wrongdoings. Lusitania drowning was of high significance in determining the conclusion of the Great War.